2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
Why does it feel like it's always harder than it should be?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, I like this one today.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to talk about it, but I have a question for you. It goes along. It goes right along with this topic, actually.
Oh no, man! Every single time you start an episode with questions these days, it goes to some place that
don't worry.
All right.
I'm not going to talk about, doing things up your spine or flatulence or anything. Don't worry. So have you ever been ticked off?
Ticked off?
Yeah.
I'm so ticked off. Yeah, probably lots of times.
What ticks you off? I want to know what ticks off Tyler, the Therapy Brother.
I'm so ticked off.
Ew.
Where did that term come from? I'm so ticked off.
I don't know. I just remember Mom saying it all the time. Like, we ticked her off a lot of kids, I can imagine.
Ticking like, I know we ticked her off a lot.
You never ticked her off. Me and Rex did.
I was the golden child.
Yeah, she'd look at you and she'd look at you and then look at us and be like, she'd just look at us. She was ticked off.
I wonder if that's like ticking like a clock or ticking like the bug,
I think it's just a made up thing in our family.
That's probably a question for our audience. Has anybody ever heard or used the term "I'm so ticked off," meaning like I'm really, really angry or mad right now? Is that a Patrick family statement or is that a common statement?
That's a great question. I'd love to know. The reason I ask is because I was kind of ticked off this morning.
Okay. Well, would you like to talk about it?
Well, the question is, which, by the way, you misspelled in YouTube.
It looks like this is a perfect title for today because nothing is going right.
Nothing's going right.
Somehow I missed the S in does.
That ticks
so
me off.
why do it feel like it's always harder than it should be? Yeah, I somehow missed an S in the word does. So that's perfect for today's topic because that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah, just nothing's going right.
Yeah, amen.
And that really is our topic today. It's like, you know, I think we have certain expectations sometimes, and we get into things, especially things as difficult as recovery work, and we want things to work out a certain way, and it always seems to kind of take a left turn, shift off the rails, problems come up. You know what really bothers me, Tyler, is like a little tiny thing that turns into like a 3-hour phone call to customer service on something that's like, it's just a little thing.
It should take 2 minutes, and instead it's 3 hours of your day trying to get
Oh my
it squared away.
goodness.
Yeah.
And recovery is difficult, but there's things throughout the process that just that are aggravating. They just bother you, and I want to talk about and with you is how not to get in that mindset, and how to there's actually a way to avoid that, and then also how to persevere through when hangups happen, when certain things come up, and how do you stay steady, work through those things and get past them. So, what do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, man. I think this isn't just a recovery type principle. This is a weird principle of life where it's kind of interesting because if you look at it from a mindfulness perspective and from even like the language that gets used in the healing process and recovery, you get both ends spoken at you at the same time, which is just go with it, just go with the flow, live in the moment, do your thing. And then you're also told, oh, by the way, you need to live with intention and set some intentions and work towards those things. And somehow those two things both have truth in them. Here's a classic dialectic. This is the dialectic of the Serenity Prayer, actually, which is I need to accept the things I cannot change, but I need to be actively engaged in the things that I can do. And sometimes when we set our intentions, we think, okay, I mapped this all out. So we have an assignment. And one of the assignments that we actually do in our healing journey process is called the impossible goal. And you map out in great detail this impossible dream that you have or this goal that you have, and you map it out little steps at a time. And I would bet if we were to talk to some people who have been through our program, that most of them, after mapping out all of those steps, have run into a bunch of snags that made it so that none of those steps actually worked step by step by step by step by step.
Yep.
But somehow it was important to set the intention and map it out so that you could then hit the snags that you were going to hit and then have to figure out how to get around the snags or go through the snags and still either stay the course on the impossible goal, or sometimes it actually leads to a pivot or a shift into a new impossible goal.
Yep. I love that you're bringing up this dialectic, Tyler, because it's like either we're glutton for punishment or it's the nature of life in many ways of like, I could dance around and in the rain barefoot and be like, I'm just living in the moment and it's wonderful. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. But then there's also like processes of moving forward and doing some work and like accomplishing something. If you're going to build a building, I can't just dance around in the rain. I got to grab a hammer and some nails. Right. And so it's how to balance those two of I am out to accomplish something, but I'm going to go out to accomplish something with the attitude of accepting everything that comes to me throughout that process. Instead of I'm out to accomplish something, I have a fixed mindset that it should end up this way. I expect it to work out this way. And then once it doesn't, once I hit a snag or two, I throw my hands in the air because it's like, well, this is too hard, and you give up.
But for some reason, Brad, you got me thinking about our days on the mow crew when we used to mow lawns. I remember like
I'm nervous about this one.
It's like there's some days where like you'd set up like we'd mow like 20 lawns in a day or whatever, and some days you just fly through those lawns like bam, like and just get through them all. And then there'd be other days where it seemed to stack on top of each other, where you'd like shave off some old lady's like sprinkler head, and then that would take an extra hour and a half to go get the part and fix it, and then she'd be mad at you, and then right after that, like something else would happen, and you'd run out of gas and forget that we had didn't fill up the gas cans, and pretty soon what would have been like a normal just 20 lawns that took 5 or 6 hours to mow turns into like an 8 or 9 or 10 hour day over stupid stuff. And I remember the one day, you probably see me lose it, kind of like Chevy Chase when his lights won't work in Christmas Vacation. Like, and he just like loses it. He's like kicking the deer and like punches Santa in the face in the front lawn. Like, I remember throwing fits like that on the mow crew. And one of them was when we had our lawnmower and the one wheel fell off on our lawnmower. And instead of like taking the time to try to go fix it, like what we should have done, we just tried to mow the lawns with a 3-wheeled lawnmower for like the rest of the day because we were so mad and non-acceptant of the reality of it. Like,
yeah, I remember that.
that was rough.
You know, you make me think of have you ever watched Gold Rush?
Yeah.
So there's it's fascinating because there's a couple different crews, and I won't get into all of it, but there's Todd, who's this new guy who's never mined gold before. And if you watch the first season, he comes in, and him and his dad are like, you know, we're all millionaires. We just got to get it out of the ground, you know? And they're just like in la la land of like, we're rich because there's gold there, right? And then it's just like problem after breakdown. And when I first started watching it, I just thought, oh, those poor guys. And then you see a guy like Tony Beats, who runs another crew, and he expects the problems. He's got like a full junkyard. He's got a couple mechanics on staff. He's just like ready. He's like, oh yeah, that's mining gold. Like that's
you have breakdowns like that when you mine gold.
That's what happens when you mine gold. So Todd's like, where's my gold? And Tony's like getting the mechanic to fix this minuscule thing that shuts down the whole operation. And he's totally prepared to fix it because he expects the snags are going to come. And in recovery and in life, if we can do that, then it's much easier to navigate. You actually have this expectation that I get to learn through the struggle of it, and I get to prepare for the struggle of it. Therefore, that will help me move forward through it faster. And what do you know? Tony got a lot more gold than Todd ever did. Right?
Well, not only was Tony, so there's two things. Tony probably had more experience. So that experience kind of, in some ways, forged that resiliency that he had and that expectation. It had recalibrated his expectations to know that it was there's still a pathway to getting the gold, but that pathway is going to come with a tractor breaking down every other day, or some permit that didn't get put in the right way, or something else. And
I think, Tyler, that's one of the most like telltale signs of wisdom, is that you are prepared for life to break down on you. And you can navigate that very well. So sorry I cut you off. But
no, that's perfect. So I guess that's part of what we want to talk about today, Brannon, is what is the process of being able to move from the place that I was at in the mow crew all the time, which is things should be this way. Like, this is how you mow a lawn. You do this, and boom, it's done. To all of a sudden now I got a mower with 3 wheels, and I don't want to accept that reality. How do you move? What's the process of moving from a place of, okay, I need to this is my biggest frustration because I like things to be done. Like, how do I accept that I still need to set intentions and I still need to actively put right effort into those intentions, while at the same time accepting that it's very likely that nothing that I've intended is going to play out like I thought it would?
Yes.
What's the process of shifting that mentality?
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I hate to keep bringing up Gold Rush, but there's another crew, Parker's crew, and he's this 18-year-old kid who has wisdom. And it's interesting because he was raised on a gold mine. And coming back to your question, Tyler, of like, what did Parker and Tony have that Todd did not have? It was experience, right? It was also they had mentorship. They knew how it worked, and they lowered. And this is what's interesting. They produced more, and they lowered their expectations of the way the mine was going to run. Right. So, what I'm saying is lower your expectations of the way your recovery is going to go. I'm not saying lower the expectations of what you're going to accomplish. I'm saying lower your expectations of the way it's going to go smoothly. Expect snags, expect hangups. It's all about growth mindset, Tyler. That's it. That's the only shift. And what's cool, and this is what's really, really cool, is if you back up and let go into that growth mindset, when you repeat it, you do it again, you're more prepared. You can handle the things as they come, but you have to cut your teeth. You have to go through those snags with an open, like with openness in order for that to happen.
It's kind of like that famous quote that you've heard 1,000 times, Brannon, that says something along the lines of, that which we persist in doing becomes easier, not that the nature of the task becomes easier, but our capacity to do so increases.
Yes.
So in essence, what you're saying is that when I'm working a process like recovery, I mean, you think about this, it's pretty standard. Let's just say with like betrayal and like say infidelity here, or some kind of like compulsive behavior, maybe a sexual addiction or something. As the betrayed partner, there's a pretty good chance that my partner isn't going to step right after disclosure into just a way of being and a lifestyle of complete honesty and transparency. And there's probably going to be, even if it's not the big cheating or the big behavior anymore, there's probably going to be a pattern of hiding and omitting and dishonesty that has to be worked on and chipped away at. It won't be perfect. And over time, what we'd want is just to have full transparency and honesty so that the relationship can just heal and start moving forward. But what's going to happen, and likely, is that there's going to be several mini disclosures and mini breakdowns around those patterns. And as the betrayed partner, unfortunately, they're going to get really good at handling small disclosures. And hopefully over time, they learn to trust themselves that they can manage those disclosures. They don't get buried so far for so fast and for so long. They know how to have the right kinds of support, the right tools around them, and then they can manage those with way less suffering than they did the first time.
Yes.
Right. And the same is true for the person who's had the pattern of dishonesty, is that over time they're going to get better and better with practice and with support and accountability and humility and all those principles that we talk about. And that practice is actually going to be part of the process that draws people together. And what's weird about that is when it's done properly, even though it's done in a hard way, it still has the opportunity to restore trust with that practice, which is a snag that nobody really wants to hit.
Yeah. Yeah. Tyler, I want to just insert something I think that's really important. Everything that you just went through is like a process, and you have to experience it and you have to go through it. And like, let's use your 3-wheeled mower analogy. Let's say you have a really hard day and you go through it, and it's like one thing after another breaks down and you're frustrated and you're mowing with the three-wheeled mower. You'll be mowing with a 3-wheeled mower, 2 weeks from that day, 2 months from that day, 2 years from that day,
with a bunch of angry customers with chopped up lawns.
Yeah, and you'll keep doing that unless when these things happen, you're really open to learning. Like you look at it of like, oh, that happened. How did I get to this spot? What do I need to do to really self-reflect and look within to see what's in my control, serenity prayer this, and make the shifts that I'm going to make so that I'm not hanging out with a 3-wheeled mower in 2 weeks. So it's not just about experiencing it that helps you move forward. It's about experiencing it with a humble heart and an open heart to learning and self-reflection, and then that's where you get blessed by it.
What you're describing, Brannon, is it's a skill that gets talked about in DBT a lot, which is the people who are the most effective at being able to regulate their emotions and have less suffering and have more joy. They learn to master the skill of replacing what they call willfulness with willingness. What willfulness is that I dictate to the world how it's supposed to go because that's how it's supposed to go. And I mow with a 3-wheeled mower for 3 weeks after that because it shouldn't have broken down.
Yeah.
And everybody drives by going, what is that guy doing? And I'm like, well, it shouldn't be this way. It should. It should, and they're like, well, why don't you just take it into the shop and put another bolt in there and add another wheel? Like, what do you, well, it's like, because it shouldn't be that way. It was supposed to be this way. And in doing the willfulness thing, I increase my suffering exponentially. Whereas, and here's the hard part, and this is the really rough part on a day when nothing goes right? Like the water doesn't go hot for me in my shower because now the water heater's out on the same day that the sprinklers broke down, on the same day that I happen to have a fender bender on my way into work, on the same day that I just had one client that I thought was well on the path has now had a massive relapse. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, it shouldn't be this way. Da, 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 da. Why is it so hard? Why is everything so hard? Why does my car break down, too, when I try to go home today? And I can throw my hands up and I can throw a big temper tantrum and a fit about all the shoulds, or I can embrace my life as it is because, and here's the hard part people don't like to hear, things are as they should be. It should be that our mower had only 3 wheels that day because for some reason the bolt sheared off and we weren't prepared, and that's what it was. And today is the day of learning how to mow with the 3-wheeled mower, or learning how to accept that we don't have it today and to go do the repair necessary so we can be more effective and get the rest done tomorrow.
That's easy to say about a mower. That's hard to say when, let's say, my spouse cheats on me again.
Yes.
And you're saying, you know what? Look at that that's as it should be.
Because, and what I mean by that is because it is. What we're getting at is that willingness not only comes to a place of acceptance of things are what they are, it gets you to reality, and then it has you look at reality with eyes of possibility. That's what willingness is. Right. Willingness is, okay, well, this is my reality, and I don't like it, and that's okay. I don't have to like it. I can be in a ton of pain. I can be in a ton of sadness. I can feel totally emotionally gutted. But when I accept that this is my reality, now I can look for the opportunity of what this reality is going to do for me, teach me, help me to grow. It's like, Brannon, do you remember when COVID hit? You did this to me. You smacked me in the face with this, and I called you up, and I was like, oh, crap, what's going to happen to our business? We're not going to be able to have people come in office and do therapy, and this might kill my practice. And you were like, man, this is going to be so full of opportunities. I don't know what's going to happen yet with it all, but there's going to be so many opportunities inside of this. Listen to the difference. One is willingness, okay, I don't like it. This is unstable. I don't know what's going to happen, but man, there's tons of opportunities here. And I'm over here going I'm going to suffer and have anxiety and not sleep at night and worry. And both of us are in the same scenario, and one's met with willingness and the other one's met with willfulness.
It's really hard to look behind the curtain of uncertainty, so when bad things are happening, you're thinking the worst. Oh, I'm going to go bankrupt. If I divorce, my family will all be torn apart. If these bad things, and we deem them as bad things, right? Bad things happen. And what you're kind of saying is, if you're approaching it with a willing heart and an openness, then you're curious as to what is going to happen. There's possibility there from these things that are happening. And yes, they're full of pain. They're really difficult. And they're full of opportunity, tons of opportunity. And behind that curtain is some light and life and hope that you don't know exists until you actually accept the reality that you're in. The acceptance has to come first, or else you stay behind the curtain and you resist and you resist and you resist, and you don't. All these little snags and all these little things get the best of you.
If we were to take your example from earlier, Brannon, and this is going to be another thing that maybe our listeners will kind of have to wrestle with a little bit. What you're saying is my partner we've already had a big disclosure. My partner continues to cheat on me. that sucks. That hurts. There's pain in that. There's all sorts of like devastation in that. But what that's going to end up producing for me is an opportunity to see what it's like to go through a divorce and start fresh and maybe potentially develop a whole new relationship.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
That's an opportunity built inside of a horrible situation.
And even the same thing applies to the cheater. Now, what I mean by that is, I'm not saying it's good that they're out cheating. I'm not saying that, but they're compulsively doing something for a reason. If they can stop and look at that and be like, "This is my reality. I am acting in an addiction. This is where I'm at. There's something to learn here," then that's an opportunity for them. But if they can't, they'll continue the numb out. They'll continue the resistance to life as it is, and the addiction will continue to run the show. That's all addiction is.
Yeah. So if we were to retitle this episode with the right spelling,
yeah, I do. Why does with an S on the DOE?
Why does it feel like? yeah. No, but really, what we could do retitle this episode as, Brannon, with what you're saying is everything is an opportunity. That's what you're saying here. Is everything is an opportunity. Even it just means that my day is going to look different today than I thought it was.
If you, Tyler, if you mix these things, curiosity, fortitude, like being able to hang in there while it's tough, and you mix that with some hope and some faith, then what you just said is absolutely true. Absolutely true. And that, this is where God comes into it a little bit of like, if we've talked before about what is God doing to me, what is God doing for me, what is God doing through me, and all of these little snags that happen, even that annoying little customer service call that I have to make or whatever, can be for a reason. And even the horrific thing that happens that rocks your world is for a reason. And if you know that, then you'll have the fortitude to sit in the discomfort of it with eyes of possibility and eyes of hope, right? And that's where it's like, okay, I'm resilient now. I'm resilient to the hardships that come in, and then I can get on the other side of it, and that's where growth actually happens.
I love that. I'm thinking too, Brannon, of like just the principles of mindfulness, and mindfulness is all about being fully engaged in the present moment. And one of the key elements to mindfulness is meeting each of those moments without judgment or by removing judgments.
Yeah.
And so now I can be sitting at the tire shop getting my tires fixed because they've gone bald, and I've gotten a flat, and I can sit there with curiosity and just accept that my moment is to eat popcorn at Les Schwab, burning half a day, and just experiencing what it's like to sit in that office and have that experience.
You probably need the break.
And maybe that's an opportunity to have a break and enjoy some popcorn, even though I've had to cancel 3 appointments.
Right. It's Tyler. It's like, we flew standby growing up a ton, and like, you think you're going to like Puerto Rico for a nice, weekend or whatever, and you end up in the Atlanta airport for 4 days and you fly home,
sleeping under the benches in the airport.
And if you have this attitude when you're flying standby of like, especially with low priority, of like, yeah, I just expect for everything to fall into place, then you're in for it.
How many times, Brannon, have we tried to go someplace and it was supposed to be a flight to like Salt Lake to Atlanta, catch a connector somewhere else, and then all of a sudden we're like Salt Lake to Atlanta to Cincinnati to Dallas, back to Atlanta, and then back home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just trying to get where we were going, and we never got there.
But you know what? If like we're together and we're doing that together, and we never got to go to the football game or whatever we were doing,
and we slept under the benches in the airport.
Yeah. What an adventure.
How many people have had the opportunity of knowing what it's like to sleep with no blankets under the benches and
Yeah. Well,
at a terminal?
Yeah. You've learned how to sleep in hard places.
I can sleep anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that type of attitude, right? To life, an openness, a willingness. And then you put your best foot forward. Failure, struggle is inevitable. It's going to happen. But then when it does happen, you look at it with growth mindset and you're fine, right? I was talking to some people this week, and a couple of them were kind of like, oh, I'm in this spot where we're stagnant in recovery. We're just kind of like, we've been doing the same thing again and again, and it seems like nothing's getting better. Nothing's changing. And they didn't like where they were at. And it's interesting because on one hand, they've gotten really good at surviving right where they're at. On the other hand, they're being called to something different. But that call to something different means stepping into some of these snags. Right?
Yeah. It's almost like you know that the snags are going to be there and you almost don't want to see them. So you just stay in the comfort zone of the hell you're already living.
Yeah. Yeah. So face the snags, learn from them. It'll move you forward, versus sit back and avoid the discomfort of the change, the growth, the process.
I'll give an example of this, Brannon. And it's a story that I've shared a long time ago. So some people may have heard it before, but fresh out of graduate school, this is all right while I'm still in the thick of my own addiction and hasn't come to disclosure yet. But I decided that God had called me to become a college professor, and I was supposed to teach at BYU, Idaho. So I get out of grad school. I move my family to Rexburg, Idaho without a job, just because I know that's where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do and what I'm supposed to be. I walk in to the department, the family department at BYU, Idaho, and I talk to the director, and I'm like, I'm here to teach. And he's like, oh, well, you're in the right spot. There's 2 positions opening up this semester. And he's like, so where did you get your doctorate at? And I'm like, I don't have a doctorate. I got a master's degree. And he like reached down under the desk and he pulled out a stack that was like 3 feet high of files. And he set them on his desk and he's like, these are all the doctorate candidates that are not getting interviews. So you're probably not going to teach here. And I was like, just devastated. I went home. I'm questioning God. Like, why did God send me up here? And this and that and the other. Like 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from him. He's like, hey, we had to fire one of our faculty members for sleeping with a student. Like, do you want to teach his classes just this semester as an adjunct? I was like, I'm in. So I taught adjunct. And then the next 3 years, I got to teach 2 classes a semester as an adjunct professor there, but I never got a full-time job. But I knew that's where I was going to be. That's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to be a full-time professor. In the midst of all of that, D-Day happens. My life blows up. I blow my wife's life up. And then you called me and you're like, hey, Tyler, we should niche into this place and build a practice together on like how to overcome pornography addiction and betrayal. Like there's not enough people doing this kind of work. You didn't know I was even in my recovery at that time, but you said that. Right. So now I'm fighting. I'm like, okay, I should start a private practice because I'm not getting the job that I want, but the job that I want is supposed to be there because God told me I'm supposed to move here. And I'm hitting all these snags and I can't get hired because I don't have a doctorate and then they don't have the right positions. And then I went to work for the drug courts to fill the gaps and pay my bills. And then you called. And right about the time I decided that it was time to build my own private practice and maybe move down to Logan, Utah with you and build a practice there, a job came open, full-time job. They asked me to apply for it. I went through the whole process and I got down to be the finalist in 2 places, like with 2 people, just the final 2. And it happened to be on a weekend when we had a big church meeting. And inside the church meeting, I felt like I got another prompting that said, you're not supposed to teach at the college. You're supposed to go start your private practice. And the next day I went into the department, and right when I walked in, the head dean of the school was there, and he's like, hey, you must have got the news. You got the job. We just found out this morning. I got a job to teach full-time, which had always been my dream, which had been my prompting in the first place. And I had to look him in the eye and say, actually, I think I'm supposed to go a different direction now. I'm going to go build a practice and help people with pornography addiction and betrayal. And he looked at me like, what? Like, you went through this whole 4-month hiring process and now you're not going to take it? And I said, yeah, that's what's going to happen. All of those snags were actually part of the cultivation. I had to go to BYU, Idaho. I had to get shut down. I had to work for the drug courts. I had to get a call from you. I had to then decide that I had enough skill and talent to go out on my own and practice my own therapy. And the snag of not getting the job had to be there. It had to be there, even though it was devastating. And yet I look back and I'm so grateful that those snags were there.
Well, look at that I'm sure when you turn that job down, there's probably a lot of feelings of like, what am I doing? Like,
I went home and my wife was like, I'm behind you, but man, like that's what you've wanted to do for the last 7 years. Like, what do you do? What do you? And then to make it worse, we decided to move to Logan, and I'm like, okay, well, God's going to grease the skids and make it easy. We went and we found a house. We put an offer in. We got the offer accepted. We had all of our financing lined out. And then like 2 days before we were supposed to close, the financing fell through. And now I've got little girls who are getting ready to go to school. We're supposed to be moving to Logan. I got no place to go. And I was just like, what? My wife went up in the mountains and like yelled at God, like, hey, if we made a decision, like, you got to help us out. You know, I went to church and I taught a porn lesson at church that Sunday. And
thank goodness for the porn lesson.
Yeah, thank goodness for the porn lesson. And after church, my wife was up in the mountains and somebody from my church heard me in the hallway after I taught the lesson telling my friends like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to do. My house just fell through. I don't know what to happen. I don't have the financing anymore. Another member of our church heard me say that in the hallway, went to my lesson, had the lesson hit them in a way that was just like, wow, that was like powerful and meaningful. He came over to my house and just told me, thank you for my lesson. And then right at the end of our visit, he said, and by the way, I probably shouldn't have heard this, but I heard you in the hallway talking to your friend. And I heard that you don't have financing for your house anymore that's supposed to close. And here's the snag, you know? And he's like, I just feel impressed to say that I've got the financing for you. He's like, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, like, do you want to drop a contract or something? He's like, nope, I'm on a word of mouth guy. He's like, come to my house tomorrow. We'll go to the bank and get the money. He's like, how much do you need? And I'm like, well, the total price of the house was such and such. He's like, oh yeah, no problem. Come. He went and got me the whole price of the house. And, we moved into our house. And not only did we move into our house, he ran his own business. He took his employees, his trucks, his trailers, and Tuesdays later, he moved me into my house that he gave me the money for to get my family moved.
Wow.
And that snag actually built like such a deeper conviction in God having a plan for me and God's love for me and the relationship that I had with this now new deep friendship that I have to this day. None of that happens without the snag.
Yep, exactly. But in the moment you're looking at it, it's like,
this all falling apart.
This is the worst. But then hindsight, you look back and you're like, oh, what is God doing through me? Yeah. And if you just stay in there, if you just sit in there in what you know is right and good and true, if you just stay there, then you'll see why. You'll understand why. You can't peek behind the curtain, but you can stay in that place of openness. And I love that story, Tyler.
If you have eyes to see.
Yeah, and I love that story. And I've never met that man, but I love him just for the goodness of him and. Just like, wow, like humanity is good. So you guys, I hope this was helpful listening to it. If you're struggling and you're hitting snags and wondering, where are you going to be in 6 months? Where are you going to be in a year? I hope this was helpful to just stop, take a step back, find hope, find faith and know that you will move forward no matter what. And until next time, keep on keeping on.